Hey everyone, and welcome back to FSI DFS. I am McKinley412, and today we're going to be looking at this massive 15-game slate for Tuesday night on DraftKings. I'm not going to go into the weather too much here since I do record these the night before, so we're quite a ways out, but make sure you're paying attention to the weather. But it is a nice slate. I think there's lots of pitching options in pretty much every single pricing tier. There's solid guys at the top, but there's also some nice value plays down at the bottom that you could be turning towards as well. So what we'll do is we'll go through all the pitchers. I'm going to go through not every single game, but a lot of the games that I am interested in targeting for the bats. And hopefully I can keep this under 20 minutes. It is a massive slate. There's a lot of information to go over. But on these large slates, sometimes what I like to do is just kind of like cross some of the games out. It kind of makes things a little bit easier. Games that, are just going to have a low total, or just kind of kind of pitching matchup that you're not really interested in. You can just kind of slide them off your radar. Just makes things easier for you. But let's go through the pitchers here real quick. McCullers up at the top. McCullers, he's been in great form. He's doing well. His strikeout rate is up. Walks quite a few guys, which is kind of concerning. But his road splits compared to his home splits, and he's going to be on the road tomorrow night. Or tonight, whenever you're watching this. But you can see he's averaging 24 DK points a game. And now he's going up against Seattle, which is a great matchup for him. Seattle against right-handed pitching in the past month is a top 3 strikeout team. They strike out a 25.6% clip. So I definitely have interest in McCullers, and he's probably going to be my favorite pitcher on the slate for cash. Robbie Ray is 300 cheaper than him. His strikeouts have been up and down a lot, and they've been through the roof at times, and he's gathered a lot of interest and ownership over the past month or so in slates. But if you kind of look at his matchups during those high strikeout total games, or just like his best DFS production games, he's been against the high strikeout poor offense teams. 31 against Texas, 40 against Tampa Bay, 28 against Seattle, 24 against Miami. He did well against Boston here, and he's got the same matchup here again on Tuesday night. But I don't see a ceiling game for him. He got 7 in his last start against Boston as well. But I don't think he's going to be getting 7 points. I don't think he's going to be getting you 25 to, ceiling of 40 points here. So I prefer McCullers to Ray pretty strongly. And for $300 more, I'm definitely going to be going towards McCullers. If you already have McCullers in and you really want to pay up at pitchers, I think Morton is by far your next best option. He's been a stud against the Mets. He's faced them 3 times this season. He's averaging 27 DraftKings points in those 3 starts. So he definitely has their number. The Mets strike out a lot against right-handed pitching. They're also close to 25%, just right behind Seattle, who's a top strikeout team. So I love Morton in this matchup. You can kind of see he's got a nice solid floor to go with it as well. So I think McCullers and Morton is a fantastic 1-2 combo in cash if you don't want to go for the expensive bat route. But like I said, or I don't know if I mentioned it, I think there's solid pitching options in all the tiers. I think there's great options at top, some in the middle, and there's also some intriguing ones in the bottom as well. Caprillion doesn't do very well on the road. Tough matchup against San Diego as well. Not too interested. McClanahan against Yankees. Yankees, surprisingly, if you look at the numbers, do very well against left-handed pitching. In the past month or two, their WRC plus is number 1. They're the best team against left-handed pitching since then. Doesn't seem like it, but I'll trust the numbers on this one. So I'm kind of off McClanahan. Also, just because he doesn't go as deep into games as I want him to, especially if I'm going to be paying 9.3 for him. That's the other kind of issue with him. Urias, he's a fine option. We prefer him on the road, which he is. He's done well against San Francisco in his 3 starts so far this season. He's got a nice floor. He's not going to absolutely like blow the socks off anybody and get you 35, 40 points at all. But he's a fine, solid option here. I think if you can find the $800, just get up to Morton. But in GPPs, if you want to go there, that is totally fine. Wainwright, I love Wainwright here. Going up against a heavy strikeout heavy strikeout team in Cleveland. He shut down this Cleveland team back in June. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits against, 25 points. So him along with Urias, solid options, kind of in this upper mid tier. Once you get below these guys. Cease, nice matchup against KC, but I'm not too interested in. I'd rather go Wainwright. Alcantara, he pitched 2 bullpen sessions. So I don't know how deep he is going to go into this game. I can't expect it to be more than like 5 to 6 innings. It's a nice matchup, but it's kind of a coin flip as to how far they want to let him go in this game here. So again, if I'm looking at other guys around here, I'm either going to go up to Wainwright or I'm going to go down to Maeda. Alzolay, he's got a serious home run issue going on here. 2 home runs in 5 of his past 6 starts. So not interested in him at 8.3K. Maeda, I like Maeda here. Maeda has done well. He's got a couple starts against Detroit so far this season. 3 starts, in fact, 20 points on average there. Point per dollar wise, I think he is one of the better plays on the entire slate. For sure. I think if you can't pay up for the 2 top guys and you just kind of want to get one of them and you drop down to Maeda in cash, I think that's totally fine. Like I said, he has done well against Detroit, but Detroit, they have been doing pretty well post All-Star break. So there is a little bit of hesitancy in that. But again, his strikeouts are up, which is always what you're interested in. And like I said, he's got a good track record against Detroit. Paddock, like I said, he's not confirmed. DK has him here. Even if he is going, it's tough to know how deep into games he gets. So I'm not really interested in him at all. I definitely would prefer Maeda for 100 more. FEDDE, no interest at all going up against Philly. If you're playing Garrett Richards on a 15-game slate, I don't know what to tell you. But especially going up against Toronto, just don't. Please don't. Gutierrez, yeah, I'll skip over him. No true interest in there. Widener is interesting just because any pitcher going up against Texas at this point, you have to have some interest in, just because of how bad their offense has been. Excuse me. So I'm not thrilled with him. He's not going to find his way into my cash games at all. But if you're building a bunch of lineups and you want to throw him in for a GPP dart, you can see he is capable of throwing a higher upside or a high K game, but he's not going too deep into games here. It looks like his pitch count is pretty limited, around like 80, mid 80s here. So GPP at best. Flexen, this again is another, I don't know who the actual confirmed Seattle starter is. He's not confirmed yet, but he's kind of like a boom or bust play. He's either getting you 20 plus points or he's getting you 4 or fewer. There doesn't seem to really be any in between. So 5, 18, 29, 23, 3, 21, 35, 9, 4, 30. So he's all over the place. You can't trust him at all. GPP at best, especially going up against Houston. Suarez, Suarez, I wish he had a longer leash. He doesn't seem to be going too deep into games. His pitch count has been going up, but then it got pulled back again in his last game. So Colorado's not a great offense. Not too interested in him here. Anderson doesn't strike anybody out. If he had a 9 strikeout game against Cincinnati a while back here, yeah, right here, 9 strikeouts. But look at his past starts around it: 3, 1, 1, 0, 1, 3, 3. He just doesn't strike anybody out. Pittsburgh doesn't strike out as a team. They don't score a bunch of runs either. So like I think they're the lowest run per game team in the league. but still, they don't strike out often. Anderson should not be on your radar really at all. Gomber, I think, is very interesting and somebody we have to highlight here. Gomber, people just looking at his game logs, he's very intriguing at 7.1K. Extremely intriguing because he's been hitting 3 times value at this salary often, frequently. But he is one of those weird pitchers in that he really does fairly well in home at Coors. He's got a sub-2 ERA in Coors, but once he gets away from Coors, it balloons to over 5. So I'm kind of off Gomer that way, but also the Angels are one of the, they're like the best team in the entire major leagues against left-handed pitching. If you chop up the splits to full season or just in the past 2 months or in the past 1 month, the Angels are always at the top or the top 2 of best offenses against left-handed pitching. So Gomber's got 2 strikes against him, and that he's on the road and he's going up against a great offense against left-handed pitching. So while I think he's going to garner quite a bit of ownership just based on the logs and his price, I think the Angels can make for a very interesting GPP play. But we'll talk about that with the bats. Anderson, we have an Anderson versus Anderson game here. He just shut down Pittsburgh a while back ago. I don't even know if it's in his game logs. No, it's not. We got to go here. Yeah, 21 DK points at 7.2K. Certainly interesting, but again, he has no floor. There's a reason he's priced this low, so I don't really trust him. I do think there are some better options down in this range. Webb, he's interesting just given the fact that, the Dodgers are banged up quite a bit here. Let me pull up their team. So you got Betts on the IL, Bellinger's day-to-day, Lux is on the IL now, Seager's obviously been gone all season, well, 90% of the season. So they do have some injuries to a lot of their really good bats. So Webb, I think, could make for a very intriguing play down here. Where do we go? Right here. 6.9K. Certainly interesting. You can kind of see he has a pretty decent floor. His strikeouts are kind of average. He's not going really deep into games. He doesn't have the highest pitch count, but it's definitely somebody they have to be looking at. Let me see. Oh, yes. 2 starts against the Dodgers so far, and he's averaging 20 points per. So fantastic. Definitely somebody you want to be looking at down here. Montgomery, he's had a nice floor lately, or a nice form lately, so he's a guy you can be looking at. No to Moore, no to Quantrill. Dunning, Arizona's just terrible. If Dunning at 6.4K can get you 15 points, awesome. And as you can see, he is more than capable of giving you that. He's got games in the 20s. He's got a couple games in the 20s here. So at 6.4K, if you're only looking for like maybe 15 points, and if he can do that, he's going to be paying off his salary for sure. Keller, I do have to apologize. In my last video, I said Keller was a terrible play going up against Milwaukee. I was so high on Milwaukee, and somebody in the comments, I can't remember his name, so I do apologize, his or her name, and they were like, don't sleep on Keller. I think he's in a great spot here against Milwaukee. He's going to do well. And they were right. I was wrong. I gotta admit it there. So Keller, he's been in nice form. 3 straight games of 20+ points, 5.9K. That is definitely something that you need to be looking at. He is going up against the White Sox, who, banged up, but they do have some of their better bats coming back from injury. Jiménez is one of them. So I think he's a great play. Not really, but I wouldn't trust him in cash just yet, but he's definitely somebody that has to be on your radar down in this range. Watkins, excuse me. Watkins, 3 starts, 1 earned run in each of the 3. 5.6K going up against Miami, not the greatest offense. So he's got a nice matchup. He's super cheap. He's shown some good form, and he's shut down some pretty decent teams here as well. So at 5.6K, you're looking for like 12 points. Can he get you that? And I think, he's more than capable of doing so. Alexander and Banda, not too interested. Like I said earlier, Banda, he's not confirmed, but we'll see. So that was a lot. Kind of covered the picture. So if I go really quick, I like McCullers, Morton, Wainwright, Maeda. Going down, Webb, Dunning, Keller, Watkins. I think those are some pitchers that you definitely need to have some exposure to, and should be on your radar for sure. So let's look towards the bats. Just kind of like, I'm just going to go through the games here. I don't have any interest in this Milwaukee-Pittsburgh game. It's kind of one of the games I'm crossing off. Not interested in the pitchers, not interested in the bats. Washington, Philly, I think this could be a very high-scoring game. It wouldn't surprise me. There's not really any lines out yet. Wouldn't surprise me if this was one of the higher over-unders on the entire slate. With Washington, they are pretty pricey. Yeah, they're top-heavy. Let me say that. With Soto and Turner both 6K or over, but everybody else is fairly cheap. So, let's just do some lineup construction as we build here. So I'm just going to throw in McCullers, just so we have the most expensive pitcher in there. And I think he's like he's either the best or the second best compared to Morton on the slate. And then we'll go down here and we'll throw in, I don't want to go super cheap. We'll go with Webb here, right? We're kind of in the middle. So yeah, so let's look at Washington. If we plug in Soto and we plug in Turner, we're looking at 3-4 remaining. So it's entirely possible. You can build a lineup with that, no doubt. But if you want somebody above Webb, it's really and Turner and Soto, it's going to be really difficult. So what you could do, I mean, if you want, you could just kind of target, you could just target the righties of Washington. Maybe you want to take Soto out and just kind of take a gamble that he doesn't do very well. So if you went Turner, if you went Escobar and Harrison, Zimmerman is pretty cheap on this slate at 3.1K. You can get a nice Washington stack with 4K remaining for the rest of your guys. If you go cheap at catcher, you can definitely like bump up from Webb to maybe like Maeda as your SP2. So I like a Washington stack here. But even on the other side, I like the Philadelphia bats, maybe even more. FEDDE, let me pull up his logs here. He's just been atrocious. He's faced Philadelphia twice so far this season, and he hasn't done well, averaging 2 points. So he's not doing well in his 2 starts versus Philadelphia. -4 in one of them. I think it was like 6 points in the other one. So not good. And you can see 3 of his past 5 starts, he's finished in the negatives. So I really like the Philadelphia side here, going up against FEDDE. So we're looking for those Philadelphia lefties. Excuse me. So we're looking for those Philadelphia lefties. Harper obviously is going to be up there. But I mean, even like lefties or righties, it doesn't really matter. I think Philly is just going to be a great play. They're definitely one of the top stacks that I want to be paying attention to tomorrow. But let's just kind of continue moving on. I love Washington. I love Philly. I think this game's going to be a high-scoring affair. Baltimore, Miami, not really. Cincinnati. Cincinnati's next team I want to talk about here. I mentioned earlier, Alzolay has been letting up a lot of home runs. He's allowed 2 home runs in 5 of his past 6 starts. So we're definitely looking for the Cincinnati lefties here. Alzolay has let up 20 home runs this season. Of those 20 home runs, 16 of them have come to left-handed bats. So you are looking at Winker, you are looking at Votto, and you are looking for possibly the best value on the entire slate, Naquin at 2.8K. So actually, there might be one better value, and I'll get to him in the next team here. But if you're going Cincinnati, these are the bats that you definitely want to be highlighting. You can throw in another guy in there as well, but you definitely want the lefties from Cincinnati just because of how much power that Alzolay has been giving up to lefties. So I like Cincinnati. Chicago White Sox, I know I mentioned Keller is in good form, and he is, but there is one guy we have to talk about, and that is Eloy Jiménez. He is back. He is returned. He's in the lineups now. So 2.5K is just insanely far too cheap. We're talking about a guy who, if he played a full season last season in 2020, COVID and everything, if he played a full season, he was on pace for over 40 home runs. The season before that, in 2019, he played like 122 games, I think. If he played a full season, he was on pace for over 40 home runs. He had like 30 home runs in those 122. So this is a 40+ home run type player. He does well with batting average, and he's only 2.5K going up against I mean, all things considered, a weak pitcher. So Jiménez, he's too cheap. I think he's just another fantastic value option if you want to go there. Early White Sox, they're not that cheap or not that expensive in general. They have a lot of value with Vaughn at 2.6, Sheets at 3.4K, and so on. Minnesota going up against Detroit. The lefty and Alexander. Minnesota, a lot of right-handed bats. They did lose Cruz though, and really, given an all-righty lineup, they have really struggled against left-handed pitching. So I'm not really too on Minnesota here, even though I think when the Vegas lines do come out, they could be one of the higher implied totals, but I don't have too much interest. LA Angels, I think they're my favorite kind of like GPP sneaky play here. I think a lot of people are going to be looking at Gomber and seeing his price and seeing the game logs and just being like, he's outside of Coors Field and being like, well, this is a good matchup, a good spot for him. But like I said, LA is one of the best offenses against left-handed pitching all season long. All season, past 2 months, past month, you break down the splits, they're right at the top. And Gomber, his ERA outside of Coors is really, really high. So I don't think LA is going to get a lot of ownership, but I do think that they are in one of the best spots on the entire slate. So I'm definitely interested in the Angels bats, lefties, righties. It doesn't matter. I'm interested in all of them. Dodgers, San Francisco. Interested in both pitchers, so none of the bats. It's kind of same here in San Diego and Oakland. Houston, Seattle, kind of same deal. Not really too interested in. Maybe Houston for a GPP play, but that's kind of it. So bats, we're looking Philadelphia, Washington, Cincinnati, Chicago White Sox, and the LA Angels are probably my favorite play on the slate there. So we did it. I don't know how long that was, but we did it. We finally made it. So hopefully I got you enough information out there. I know it was a lot, but I think there's pitching options in all price ranges. McCullers, Morton, Wainwright, Maeda, even down in the bottom, going all the way down to like Keller, Watkins, Montgomery. They're all intriguing plays here. And then bats, there's definitely quite a few plays there. And probably your two best value plays are right here with Jiménez and Naquin at 2.5 and 2.8. So that kind of covers everything. As always, hit that subscribe button. It really does help us out. Hit that thumbs up button as well. And we will see you in the next video. We're going to have 2 videos out on Wednesday. There's an early slate and the main slate later on. So make sure you check out both of those. And hope to see you there. All right.